Welcome to day 13 of our school year. Remember to pull the page out to color in the box, and then we slide it back in to do the work. All right. So our beginning fraction, we start with the denominator of 180. That's the total amount of school days. We're on day 13. Now we're going to find all the factors of our numerator, which is 13. Two factors we always know are 1 and the number itself. Using the commutative property of multiplication, we do 13 times 1. Now we're going to go through our divisibility rules in an orderly fashion to make sure we get all our factors. After 1, we try 2. The rule for 2 is that it ends in an even number. 13 ends in a 3. 3 is not an even number, so 2 is not a factor. If 2 is not a factor, no even number will be. So now I'm just going to try odd numbers. The rule for 3 is that we add the digits together. 1 plus 3 equals 4. 4 is not a multiple of 3, so 3 is not a factor. We try 5. The rule for 5 is that it ends in a 0 or 5. It ends in a 3, so 5 is not a factor. We try 7. The multiples of 7 are 7, 14, 21. 13 is not in that list, so 7 is not a factor. We try 9. The rule for 9 is the same as 3. We add the digits together. We get 4. 4 is not a multiple of 9, so 9 is not a factor. We try 11. 11, 22. 13 is not in that list, so 11 is not a factor. Then we get to 13. So we gone through all the possible factors between 1 and 13, and those are the only two that work, so we write it down from least to greatest. We have exactly 2 factors, so it is prime. And if we look on our prime number sieve, it is circled. Yes, 13 is prime. So now we're going to try to find our greatest common factor. We're going to see if 13 works. If 13 does not, then we try 1. So let's make our groups of 13. It does not matter what they look like, just as long as we have 13 in each group. And we do not have any shaded with unshaded. So I'm using decomposition to help me. I have 4 here, plus 9 gives me 13. 1 plus 10 is 11, so I add 2 more, I get 13. 8 plus 5 is 13. Okay, 5 plus 8 is 13. 2 plus 10 is 12, plus 1 is 13. 9 plus 4 is 13. 6 plus 7 is 13. 3 plus 10 is 13. 10 plus 3 is 13. 7 plus 6 is 13. 4 plus 9 is 13. And I have 11 left over, so 13 is not our greatest common factor. So that means that 1 is our greatest common factor. So let's go ahead and make our groups of 1. Done. Okay, how many total groups of 1 are there? Each square is its own group, so there's 180 groups of 1. There are 13 shaded in. Let's prove it with our algorithm. Okay, we're dividing both by our greatest common factor. 180 divided by 1, and 13 divided by 1. Okay, 1 times 100 is 100. Numbers the same, zeros a game, more on top, no need to stop. 1 times 80 is 80. Numbers the same, 0 is a game. That is our remainder. Add up these partial quotients. 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 8 is 8, and then 1. Here, 10 times 1 is 10. We're on top, no need to stop. Numbers the same, 0 is a game. 3 times 1 is 3. Numbers the same, 0 is a game. Add these partial quotients. 10 plus 3 is 13. Now we need to check with our inverse operation. Divisor times quotient plus remainder. Divisor times quotient plus remainder. Since our remainder is 0 for both, and the identity property of addition says when you add 0 it stays the same, I don't even need to add 0. And then here I end up with the identity property of multiplication that says when you multiply by 1 it stays the same. 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 8 is 8, 1 times 1 is 1. Check, that matches my dividend. Here, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 1 is 1. That matches my dividend. So that means my final fraction is 13 over 180. Okay, now it's time to fill in our data collection page. Okay, so we are still in trimester 1. We are now on week 4. Today's date is 8/26/19. And our fraction for today is 13. 180th. 13 is a prime number and is not a factor of 180, so our greatest common factor was 1. We did groups of 1, so you do not have to get out your number line. I just want to show you that right here is our 13 180th. There's no line below it. The only equivalent fractions would be if we cut these pieces up smaller, so like 26 360ths, or cut them even smaller. Alright, go ahead and erase your worksheet, and thank you for joining me.